My name's Maria Schmitz. The hero of today's story is Patrick Schmidt, talking about the discrete horrors of the English language. The conflict is the incoherent, crazy logic of English, as he makes out, and the message is that anyone who perseveres must be exceptional. I have always regarded this article as a counterstrike to Mark Twain's That Awful German Language. Schmidt begins with an ironic, provoking statement. The English language for centuries had been considered by European aristocracy as the inadequate and second rate tongue of peasants. Then the Beatles came along. Today, English has become the most important language in the world, and the teaching of it has become the world's fastest growing industry. Classrooms all over the world are jammed with millions of eager learners wishing to master and speak this language. But few students realize how difficult it is to follow its complexities. Despite the universal impression that learning English is easy, combat-hardened teachers will tell you that it is not. The language is actually an incoherent code of inconsistencies, which is a total disaster from a learning point of view. Hard to believe? Think about the simple phrase used when meeting people for the first time. How do you do? When you analyze this question closely, not only is it horribly incomplete, but the standard answer, how do you do, makes no sense at all. This is only for starters. Teaching phonetic and spelling rules to a foreigner can best be described as grotesque. For instance, if an English teacher went to the blackboard and wrote a cluster of letters like T, C, H, S, T, S, T, H, M, and T, C, H, P, H, you would think two things. These letters are totally unpronounceable. The teacher must be crazy. Yet these letters are used every day in words like matchstick, asthma, and catchphrase. The English spelling versus pronunciation relationship is erratic and a complete waste of time to think of rules. Consider the word girl. In the US and Canada, she'd be girl, but a girl in England and Australia, a girl in Ireland, a Jill in South Africa, and a girl in Scotland. Native speaker, I probably only got the Scottish one right. Another stumbling block for the learner is being caught in the middle of the American British firing line when it comes to correct pronunciation usage. Historically, the British have always felt superior in how they pronounce their language. Most people listening to the BBC News would describe the tone as refined, sophisticated, spoken by the elite. On the other hand, news reporters on American networks often sound like nervous sportscasters, chewing gum and speaking at the same time. This might explain why in 1769 the famous satirist Samuel Johnson voiced popular contempt of the Americans by describing them as a race of convicts and ought to be thankful for anything we allow them, short of hanging. The obvious conclusion is that the odds of pronouncing words correctly are almost as bad as hitting the jackpot in Las Vegas. And the best strategy is simply to stumble on, hoping someday to master the language's shameless yet charming contradictions. Then, adding insult to injury, there's the issue of spelling. Agree or not, you're forced to learn that in Britain one writes program, favor, check, and knight. Whereas in America, it's program, favor, check, and, on commercial signs, knight. Should you have the misfortune to use British spelling in America, or vice versa, you might well be scolded or, in the worst scenario, tarred and feathered, an experience I would wish on no one. Then again, the problems just mentioned are peanuts compared to the famous present perfect tense. A nightmare for English teachers and a real fiasco for students, all of whom think a sentence like, "We're in London since 4 days," is absolutely splendid and pleasing to the ear. They don't understand the look of shock on the faces of English speakers upon hearing it. When the teacher explains the right way to say it, say it is we have been in London for 4 days. Students seem to think the teacher is suffering from some strange disease. Not only do they find the rule hard to accept, they insist that they've never heard of it, no matter how many times it has been repeated. Finally, the mistake that drives English teachers everywhere, right up the wall, is the fetish of putting would in the subordinate clause of a conditional sentence. If I would be rich, I would be happier. It's guaranteed to make Prince Charles cringe in pain, but once again, students are carelessly unaware of the enormous gaffe they are creating. Which brings me back to my main point, says Schmidt. Due to its incoherent, crazy logic, English is an extremely difficult language to learn. It should be limited only to those who possess exceptional intelligence coupled with a high resistance to frustration. But how does one identify such exceptional people? Are you still listening? You're one of them.